Good morning. Welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading Deuteronomy chapter 34. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab unto the mountains of Nebo, the top of Pisgah, that is over against Jericho. And the Lord shewed him all the land of Gilead, unto Dan, and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Judah, unto the utmost sea, and the south, and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, unto Zoar. And the Lord said unto him, This is the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, saying, I will give it unto thy seed. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not go over thither. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. And he buried him in a valley, in the land of Moab, over against Beth Peor, but no man knoweth of his sepulchre unto this day. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, nor his natural force abated. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended. And Joshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses has laid his hands upon him. And the children of Israel hearkened unto him, and did as the Lord commanded Moses. And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. And all the signs and wonders which the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh, and to all his servants, and to all his land, and in all that mighty hand, and in all the great terror which Moses shewed in the sight of all Israel. So we're going to go ahead and summarize Deuteronomy chapter 34. So Moses, having concluded his address to Israel, went to Mount Nebo to die. God showed him all the land of Gilead, Dan, Naphtali, Ephraim, Manasseh, all of Judah, and the valley of Jericho to Zoar. God tells Moses, this is the promised land that was sworn to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And in the margin of my Bible, let's see if I can show it. This may not be entirely visible, but in the margin, it looks like it may not be able to be seen. But one thing that is really valuable about having a big backed Bible is not only do you have a table of contents and a, I forget what this is called in the back, but there's like a page for weights, units of measurement, and how it compares to the units of measurement that we have today. You can also look up a glossary. There's like a glossary. So if you want to look up something specifically pertaining to a certain issue, like a division of land or a certain type of sin, you can find it in the back. But also, in the margins, you will always have reference verses. So, for instance, Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 4, when God tells Moses, this is the oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Well, the two verses in the margin under verse 4, Genesis chapter 12, verse 7, chapter 26, verse 3, and chapter 3, verse 27. But there is a bullet point in between Genesis chapter 26, verse 3, and Genesis chapter 3, or chapter 3, verse 27. And the reason is, when you see a bullet point before a verse, it is referring to the chapter that you are currently on. So it is referring to Deuteronomy chapter 3, verse 27. But with Genesis, it's referring to Genesis 12:7, Genesis 26:3, and those two times, this same oath was mentioned specifically in the book of Genesis. After the bullet point, you have 3 verse 27. That is referencing Deuteronomy chapter 3 verse 27. And so even there, the same promise is made to Israel. and God was speaking to Moses. So this is the same thing that he's talking about now. Go up to the top of Pisgah. So it just helps when if you're trying to understand how everything connects together, like when I was talking about how Canaan, not every mention of Canaan, but most mentions of Canaan have this tie of sexual immorality from the book of Genesis up until now. It's just a helpful tool that online reading doesn't always have. Actually, I've seen no footnotes so far when it comes to this online version. So we left off with God telling Moses, this is the promised land. This was the oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Genesis chapter 12, verse 7, chapter 26, verse 3, and then Deuteronomy chapter 3, verse 27. You can view this land, but you will never have access. Verse 5, Noah died. And then verse 6, it says he buried him. The New Living Translation says that God buried him. Let me look on the interlinear. Verse 5. And he buried him. So all of these are seeming like it's referring to God buried him, but then when you look at the King James, it's a lowercase he, which that's all of the pronouns relating to God are always capitalized. I'm not sure. But again, he has died somewhere in the valley of Moab. And Svelcher, I do think that means tombstone, place of burial. It is an archaic term. But the reason why reading is so important is because it helps you develop a vocabulary. With this, I didn't specifically know what this meant, but you can use context clues. It also builds your context clue skills, because when you don't know what a word means, you can read everything around it, and you know that he was buried, but no man knoweth of his blank. So you know this is referring to his burial and his death. So you can piece together that this may mean tombstone or burial site. So that's another thing about reading that I personally like. Moses dies at the age of 120 years old, but it says his eyes were not weak, his strength was not gone, he was healthy. Israel wept for 30 days in the plains of Moab. Joshua was full of wisdom, and Israel honored him as a leader. And the end says there has been no other prophet, or there was no other prophet like Moses, as close to God and assisting in manifesting plagues and the wonders in Israel's history. So we are now done with the book of Deuteronomy, and the next chapter will be discussing Joshua. He is the young man that has been commissioned to lead Israel next. And I am excited to see how things are going to be written from his perspective. So thank you so much for clicking on the video. I love you. Have a wonderful day.